I think it'd be really helpful if I kind of clarified what you think Sharia law means.
Okay, go ahead and clarify what you believe. I think.
Ooh, I don't. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, okay. The Sharia or the Islamic law or like Sharia law, there are many different ways of saying it, would be the religious law forming part of the Islamic tradition. It's derived from the religious precepts of Islam, particularly the Quran and the.
Okay, is that it?
Um, I mean, like, I can go a bit further into the definition.
Well, I mean, like the main point I guess I'm trying to make here is that like Sharia law is not like a universal like law that all like Muslims follow. It's more so kind of like how there's different sects of Christianity. Like it's mainly up to interpretation, and most Muslims don't think that everyone should follow Sharia law. More so that like just Muslims should follow Sharia law. In the same way that if we probably polled Christians, they would all believe that Christians should probably follow the Ten Commandments, right?
Hold up, mind.
Huh?
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, right. You said most Muslims believe that. No, you said not all. Hold on. What did you say exactly? Are you recording this? Because if
Yeah,
so, go back and.
I can't go back right now. The point I was trying to make is that not all Muslims like believe in the same thing. Like what Sharia law is. There's not like one unified Sharia law.
No, no, dude, you made an active claim. You said most Muslims believe that Sharia law should be applied to everyone. You something along these lines.
Yeah, no,
You can
well,
go back
yeah. So
and
right. Okay, so sure. I guess I'll clarify. Right. What I was trying to say is that not all Muslims believe that like Sharia law is like the like fuck. How am I trying to say this? Like in the same way that Christians follow different denominations, or have different interpretations of what it means to be a Christian, or what like how to interpret their religious texts. We see this in the same regards for Muslims. Not all Muslims have the same definition or the same idea of what Sharia law means. It typically means something different, depends on what region, or depends on what like type of Islam that you follow.
okay. I have never. Pardon me. I have never claimed that all Muslims believe in any particular thing, apart from Islam, the Quran, the Hadith, and the Sharia, which different interpretations of Sharia. So yeah, they all believe in these specific things. However, they can interpret it in widely different ways. Hence, why Iran is an Islamic state and Saudi Arabia is an Islamic state, but they both fucking hate each other and see each other
Yeah.
as takfiri. Uh, so yeah, I accept this to be true. I haven't claimed otherwise. However,
Okay.
even if they disagree with each other, they are both fundamentally still they still follow the same book, and I disagree with the things in that book. Like
Okay.
there are many kinds of National Socialists. However, if we define National Socialist to be strictly Hitlerist, then yeah, there are many variations of Hitlerism, but they all follow the words of Adolf Hitler, and thus they're all bad because I disagree with the fundamental precepts of National Socialism as espoused by Hitler. Do you get where I'm going with this? If I
Um.
disagree with the principles, it doesn't matter how you interpret the principles. If you follow them, you're also a shit person. Do you
Um.
see that?
Sure. I guess, but like I yeah. So first of all, I'm not very fond of any organized religion. I think religion should be very personal to you. I think it should be up to your interpretation. I don't think that there should be any like guiding organization or guiding like I guess just organization that kind of dictates like the Catholic Church, or like I don't know what they have in Islam, but I'm sure that they have like overarching like ailmans or whatever the fuck they say, where they kind of like say this is how you should interpret the religious text. I don't like that. So but we see this also being a problem with Christianity, especially in a lot of African nations, where we see the same type of cultural problems that we see like in places like the Middle East, that we don't see in places like Indonesia. So it's weird for like people to claim that like this is an inherent Muslim problem when we seem to have like the same cultural problems in other places. Like that's kind of what I'm trying to get at.
Uh-huh. I mean, like in Indonesia, only Akh is the part of Indonesia that applies the Sharia to Islamic law. So like there are still problems in Indonesia. They're just not focused on as much as perhaps in other places.
Yeah, so like their problems are different. right? So I wouldn't say that that's an inherent problem. I would say that religious fundamentalism in general is a problem, whether that's Christian, Buddhist, whatever the like. What do Indian are they Buddhist? I don't fucking remember.
India hasn't got a single religion. It's got a whole bunch of like
Right, but what's the
religions.
predominant religion in Hindu.
Hinduism.
Thank you. That's the one. Like we have a huge problem with like in India, like with Hindu nationalism. Like that doesn't seem to be like a problem that that the Hindu religious preaches, or maybe it is. I don't know. But like we've had problems like this with Christianity before, and we still do to a way where people are reading certain aspects of the text very very literally rather than interpreting it into like maybe a more modern sense. So like yeah, if you wanted to say that we should try to secularize the Middle East or secularize a lot of these like very fundamentalist Islamic countries, I would agree with you. But just say that like we should just kill them all, like I think is not acknowledging the problem in a sense.
Right. I'll go ahead and say that we can go ahead and look at, for example, we can look at the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Do you, first of all, do you,
No, I don't know what that is.
okay, essentially, it is essentially the international representation of the global ummah, and so it includes like countries which still differ in their interpretation of Islam, like Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Iran, even places which are actively fighting against each other. They all still unite because they are all part of the ummah. They all follow, in principle, the same thing. They just interpret it differently. So they unite along this common principle. They find unity in this, and so we can turn to the OIC to find what do these millions and millions of Muslims, at least what do the governments, which are made up of the people who they elect, and also in some jurisdictions just have people who rule over them through birthright as established by the people themselves. What do they believe? And then what they say, I also disagree with as well. So we can go at this in many, many different ways. We can go through OIC, we can go and look at the text themselves. We can
Right.
go ahead and look at opinion polls, which show things. I
Sure.
believe in the Sharia, or I
Yes.
believe that we should throw gays off buildings. I believe this and that. We
Okay.
can go through
Yeah, so
opinion.
yeah, we can look at some opinion polls. That might be fruitful. But like I said, I think the best course of action would be try to like turn the Middle East
I
or Muslim majority countries into
do
places. Yeah.
before, like in the other conversation, you got
Your mic's cutting out or something. I don't know what happened to your mic, but it doesn't sound right. I didn't really hear what you said. Hello?
hello.
Okay, that sounds better. What were you saying?
Um, I'm not sure if my mic cut out, but you interrupted me, and then I said, "Can you not do that?" And then I carried on talking. Did you hear what I said like before?
No, because you cut out. I'm sorry.
Okay. Essentially, what I said was we can go through many different avenues to find what are the supposed beliefs and what are the beliefs of Islam. Opinion polls and such. We can also go through the OIC, which is the official representation of the Ummah. We can see what do they say. We can also look at the text themselves. We have like three avenues of going at this, and potentially there are many more avenues that we can go at this, or combinations of them all, and all of them lead more or less to the same conclusion. They believe in the Sharia, and we can go and get this verified, by the way, by the OIC. I'm pretty sure they have like a number that we could call if we needed to. But yeah, we can go to organizations which are reputable and which are the official sources of knowledge for Islam, and we can go and say what does this? How is the Ummah supposed to interpret this? And they can tell us, well, it is supposed to say this, this, and this, and it does say this, this, and this. And so we can just go ahead and say, I disagree with what you said, and thus fuck you. And that's the position that I take. No matter what people can say, like, oh, only a minority of Muslims believe that, which is statistically untrue. But let's it was that minority would still be bad, and thus still would need to be subject to the harsh penalties.
Well, okay. So sure. I'm guess I'm gonna say this again. I think that rather than giving harsh punishments or whatever, I think it would be more practical to de-radicalize these people in the same sense that Europeans over the course of like a couple hundred years have been de-radicalized. I would also say that this is a huge problem in places like Africa, where it's maybe not necessarily more so religious problems in Africa. It's more so ethical, or not ethical, but ethnic problems or ethnic tensions within Africa. But we still see some of this like female genital mutilation is a problem in even Christian majority countries within Africa. I mean, so like these problems are not inherent just to like Islam, and we see exceptions to this. So like to say that we need to give harsh punishments to the people, even if you were to concede that, even if it is a minority, and we were just to target the minority of them and just target the ones that do believe this, I think that our resources would be better spent trying to de-radicalize these people rather than just subjugate them or whatever.
Well, I don't want to subjugate them. This would imply leaving them alive in the first place. I want them all dead. That would be my ideal goal, to have them all extinct. And also, as well, the thing that you brought up about female genital mutilation, we can actually look at what Muhammad said about this in the Hadith. What he said was, yeah, it's okay. He endorsed it like multiple times in both. I'm pretty sure it's in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. So there is an Islamic basis for it when Muslims are doing it. With Christians, I am not aware of any Christian texts that support this. Maybe there are some. I don't look into Christianity that much.
Okay.
Presumably they do justify it through some kind of obscure text about Christianity that I'm not aware of.
Yeah.
But if they're just justifying it through cultural practice, then we can go ahead and look and see, does Christianity condemn this or condemn something else, which would then by proxy condemn this. And then as far as I'm aware, in that case, it's just no, it doesn't condemn it at all or mention it.
Okay.
So we can go ahead and look at this on a case-by-case basis, and we can see with the Muslims, they do have, a religious, not obligation, but a religious, how do I say, exemption of sorts for this kind of violence against women.
Okay. So once again, yeah. I agree that like religious fundamentalism is bad, and I really don't care about like what the text necessarily says. I care about how it's being interpreted, or how like I don't have a problem with Lutheranism, even though that they still use like I don't know how Christianity works, but I'm assuming they still use at least the New Testament, and there are some things in the I guess a lot of the controversial things about Christianity is in the Old Testament. But regardless, even people who do believe in the Old Testament, to a degree, they don't necessarily interpret it directly or word by word. They have their own interpretation for it. This is why I'm hugely, I don't know if that's a word, but hugely against the Catholic Church, just like I would be against any sort of big religious organization that's trying to tell people how to interpret them or interpret their religious text. So yeah, like I think that that's probably a problem, but I don't necessarily think, because I do think that these Islam or just religious people in general can be secularized in a way. I think that like places like America has shown this, places like even Europe has shown this. Like the second generation of Muslims are extremely progressive, and they typically aren't radical like whatsoever.
Okay, I mean, we can go ahead and how do I say this? I would say fundamentally that that death is just an absolute solution to these problems. Like no man, no problem. No Muslim, no threat of Islam, no ideological threat otherwise, and also he can't renege on his agreement. He can't, even if he is unwittingly or wittingly following the doctrine of Kitman, Taqiya, Tawriya, or whatever. It doesn't matter if he's dead. If he's dead, he can't do it. If he's dead, he can't lie. If he's dead, he can't do anything.
Yeah.
And so fundamentally, I see no reason to not just kill all these people en masse. Also, as well, we can go ahead and look at, for example, what the OIC, the official organization that represents Muslims globally, what they say about the Sharia and in regards to human rights and such. In Article 24 of the Cairo Declaration of Human Rights in Islam, it says all the rights and freedoms stipulated in this declaration are subject to the Islamic Sharia. And in Article 25, it says the Islamic Sharia is the only source of reference for the explanation or clarification of any of the articles in this declaration. So essentially, if human rights mean absolutely fucking nothing in Islam, the right, for example, right to not to be subjected to a cruel, unusual punishment or torture or anything. If you look at the Sharia, and what does it say? Muhammad liked to torture people a lot, and also he allowed other people to torture people as well. And so we can see that it is essentially just bypassing human rights and all this other stuff without directly saying it. Because if you just read into the things that the Sharia states, then you're not. Well, I mean, like almost all human rights are just null and void.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm sure
So
you like human rights, right?
yeah, generally. So once again, I would like I agree with you on this. Like, a lot of these like fundamentalist Islamic people are a problem, but we don't see this as a problem as much. Like I mean, the younger generation of like Iranians are secularizing pretty decently. I mean, when we see Muslims immigrate over to the United States, not the first generation, not the ones who like weren't born in America, because they typically do have very conservative viewpoints. Because typically, countries like in the Middle East are extremely conservative in their social views, but their children are typically extremely progressive. They integrate probably better than like anyone. So I mean, like it doesn't
Yeah,
seem
I'm,
like
I'm trying to.
killing them is a practical solution. It seems like like we could do things that would probably be cheaper, expend less resources, and be more beneficial for like the economy, rather than just like having to spend a bunch of time digging mass graves, or having them dig mass graves and spend like manpower just killing a bunch of people. Like that still will take up resources, no?
Well, no, no, it will take resources to kill these people. However, it takes up far, far less than you're implying. For example, the mass production of shovels is incredibly
Jesus
easy. And
Christ.
even if you do not want the mass production of shovels, maybe I don't know, you have a shortage of metal and
Why
wood.
not just use a
This
bulldozer? Why do you have to use shovels? What?
No, 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 no. This is perfectly fine because you can reuse shovels. That's another part of the
You can
cost
you
saving
can you can
mechanisms.
reuse bulldozers.
I mean, yeah, but you need to have fuel for that. With a
Okay.
shovel, there is no fuel. It is just a stick with a pointy thing, and you
Okay.
can reuse this until the stick just wears out, and the wood will take fucking forever to do that. Providing it's a good tree. If it's
Yeah,
a bad tree
like you
that's rotten,
right,
then
you
it'll.
could yeah, you're sure you could do this. I'm not saying that you couldn't. I mean, I don't know how successful it would be. I don't think you'd be able to exterminate all Muslims. I don't think that's also it doesn't seem like you'd want to, right? Like I don't know why you'd have a problem with like the Muslims living in the United States who are like pretty secular, or like Muslims who
Oh,
are
no, no,
just
no, no. I have a problem with them in principle. In principle, I dislike all religions. Some religions are worse than others based on what's in them and what their texts state.
okay.
Islam, in my opinion, ranks just at the fucking top of the pyramid. It's by far the
Sure.
worst. At least the one that at least out of all of the religions I've come across, Islam is just top and top, by far the worst.
Okay.
And so I disagree with them in principle. Whether they understand or know these principles, or comprehend them fully is irrelevant to me. If they claim to believe in these principles, well, then yeah, they should be subject to the same punishments as someone
Okay. Even
who
if even
fully
if even
comprehends
if
what we're
in
talking about.
practice they're not like following those principles, like that's just their personal beliefs, and like would you also extend this to like neo Nazis? Like
Oh
I
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, like, yeah, extend this thing. Well, I mean, neo Nazis. That you can like their beliefs, although there is a religious basis to them in regards to positive Christianity and such. Um, it like the stuff in there, like it's not like it's insane and it's stupid and it's evil and bad and such, but there isn't like a new level of absurdity like with Muslims drinking camel piss in Saudi Arabia and all this other stuff. There isn't
okay.
they haven't reached that level of absurdity yet,
So
and
wait, so
so they
wait,
are bad. They are
yes.
bad and should be
Okay.
killed. It's just they're not as absurd.
Okay. So like you dislike Muslims more so like I okay, so the 2 points that I don't get is that like in practice, right? Like I don't necessarily care about the religious text if people aren't like following the religious text to a T, right? Because we see this in Christianity, we've seen this in like most religions over time. Typically, people secularize. I mean, in fact, like the Islamic world was more secular than the Christian world for like hundreds of years during like throughout European or that area's history and whatnot. But like it seems now so that they're kind of going back to more so conservative religious viewpoints, which is bad, sure. But like I think that we could be able to secularize them because this has been shown to have happened before without any intervention. I think with like maybe propaganda or just maybe trying to sow better relationships. Like I think like this is an idea I would have. United States government cooperates fully with Iran and helps them, and we're buddy buddy, but not with the religious aspect. We only recognize their legislative branch. Like that'd be a great way to like pressure Iran into like secularizing more.
You do realize the legislative branch is still subject to the text of Ayatollah Khomeini as well as the
Yes,
guardianship of the
yes, yes,
jurist.
yes. It's pretty much like a religious dictatorship where it's a theocracy. Yes, I'm aware of how Iran works, but pushing them to
Okay,
a
so
more secular government would be beneficial.
okay,
No.
so by recognizing the legislature, you're also by proxy, and actually no, not even by proxy at this point. You'll be de facto and de jure recognizing that their religion and all this other shit that comes along with it as well. Like
Okay, so like I mean, yeah, it
if
would
you
be
recognize
more.
if you recognize any aspect of their government, you directly recognize the things that they do and all this other shit too. I don't think you should do any of it, really.
Sure. So yeah, no, I know you think that we should just kill them all. I mean, I understand, but like,
Yeah.
as I like, but like, and this is the thing. I like, as of right now, this isn't like I think a more practical solution, at least right now, to your end goal of ending the absurdity of like religious fundamentalism or whatever you believe, or just like Islam in general. Like you should go out and try to like secularize people. I think that would, or just like turn people into non-religious, or like try to preach against Islam, or like try to disprove it, right? Like if it's evil, then that's what you should do, rather than just being like, well, I think we should
I
kill them
mean,
all,
like
right?
with Islam, you cannot fundamentally disprove the assertion that there is a God. You know you can't do this. You can only operate on the scientific assumption that there is no. You can do that, but that's still an assumption, and then people still criticize you for having this assumption.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, you can't disprove God because God, by their very nature as being God, is unfalsifiable, and so
Sure. So
you
just
can't.
there's what's the point, right? So like secularizing people is just not a thing that happens, even though it totally is. Like you
No,
can convince someone that
no,
religion is
it's
kind of
not right.
dumb, right? Like you can do this. Like what you're saying to me is pretty stupid. No, like I don't know what point you're making right now. I'm sorry, but
Their mind and body something contradictory to something that they have been raised to believe or that their friends believe or something that they have just genuinely felt for years at a time is incredibly hard but possible.
yes.
But this would take much longer than simply whacking them over the head with a brick or a shovel or any
Like
implement near you.
but like you really think it would be that simple? Like you don't
No, no,
think
no,
like
no. But no. Can you give me in principle that it would
yeah,
take more
okay,
long? It
yeah,
would take
yeah. I
longer.
know you're being hyperbolic, but
Yeah, but would it? No, do you agree with me in principle though that it is easier, more efficient to
not
just kill
necess
them rather than talk to
not
them?
not necessarily. No, I mean I think with like proper
So
Paul.
it's
Okay.
easier to talk to a man than whack him with a brick.
Okay, so in practice, right? Like in I maybe in principle, yes, if you were standing face to face with a Muslim and your goal was to like end this Muslim, whether it was via words or like the silver or lead meme or whatever, like yeah, killing him would be much easier, but that like in practice it's
Exactly,
not.
exactly. So hold that thought,
Okay,
dude,
I'm
because we're gonna
holding
get
it.
back to that.
I'm trying to.
Okay, right. Right. We can apply this principle to all Muslims. Like we can go ahead and, for example, cause some kind of cataclysmic event within the global ummah, destruction of the desecration of Muhammad's corpse, for example, or the destruction of the holy city. Some kind of cataclysmic event which would
Yeah,
signal the
we've
end
been over this.
times.
I like I'm
If
sorry.
you're
I
no
don't
no
mean
no
to.
no hold on
We've been over
hold
this
on.
though.
I
I
said
don't
hold
care.
that thought because
Okay.
we're gonna get to that in a little bit. Cause like if someone or something or some group was to cause a cataclysmic event that would signal the end times in the Islamic theology, well then Muslims I mean Muslims who are even worth a tad of the fucking salt of the earth, they will rise up in jihad because if you genuinely believe the end times are coming, what is there to lose? If you
Mm-hmm.
genuinely believe in this theology, then you will rise up because you're going to die regardless. You might as well become a martyr for Allah. And so these people they will attack the non-Muslims. We would see terrorist attacks go through the fucking roof if Muhammad's body was to be desecrated on live television or something like this sort. Terrorist attacks would be phenomenally high. It would essentially be an undeclared war, and thus, as a result of this,
Yeah, we went
humanity
over this the
would
other day. I am aware of all
no no
this.
no no because hold on, humanity
Okay.
it would either convulse and then fall under the weight of Islamic oppression, or it would rally and then fight it off. And so ultimately, I am hoping for the latter to occur. And so ultimately, we do not need to kill these Muslims right now. You could simply like prod them with the stick, as it were. They will
Okay.
attack everyone else, and then everyone will be bound to attack them
What
or
if they
die.
don't? What if you they what if you like bomb Mecca like to the ground and then they're just like what the actual fuck, and then like everyone just like turns on them, like there's no like coalition of Muslims, it's just like a coalition of just whoever bombed the shit out of this city, like
Come again?
like what if they don't, what if like actually international opinion turns towards, I'm assuming this would be the United States, right? Because this is the only country like
No. Hold
okay.
on, hold on. No. No country. No, I want to be really clear. No specific country would actually do this. It would be an independent group that would do this. For example, let's say a really anti-Islamic American president gets in and he's like, I hate Muslims, they need to go, causing threats or whatever the fuck. They just instruct the CIA, make preparations for an attack on Mecca. The goal will be the destruction of the holy sites and the desecration of
So you just
Muhammad's
lied to
corpse.
me. It would
This
be
will be
like the
done by
CIA. It would be America that would be doing this,
no,
right?
no, 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 because they would set up an independent group,
Right, but it would
some kind of
still. So, okay, so hypothetically speaking,
pseudo governance of
hypothetically
sorts.
speaking, the
They would
United
do
States
this.
is the one
It
that
would be
causes
plausible
this. Can you engage
deniability
in
for
the
the United States.
hypothetical, please? Please? Okay. So,
I
hypothetic.
just said something
Okay,
very
cool.
important. What did I just say?
I don't know because I'm trying to get you to engage in a hypothetical, and you just be like, well, no, that
Okay,
hypothetical doesn't work.
plausible deniability for the United States.
Okay,
It
so
would be plausible deniability.
okay, so hypothetically speaking, that like let's say there's some goof up or something, and the United States is tied to this. Do you think that like international opinion would just kind of go against the United States and everyone would be like, "What the fuck?" Or do you think like Muslims would still like rise up against the like Allah or
Oh no, I
whatever?
mean like no, because terrorist attacks would still happen. I mean, we have terrorist attacks on a daily basis now, and this hasn't
Really?
happened. We
Okay.
have hundreds of them every month. Actually, yeah. In some months, it goes up to
Wait,
like
in
a
in
thousand
in
or
in
two
the
thousand.
West or just all over the world?
Not globally. There's a website, and they keep track of this. Hold on, I'll see how many there were today.
How many terrorist attacks in 2019?
Uh, and so right. So for the March 2020, there were 132 attacks, 695 killed,
Can you link the
626
site?
injured, 4 suicide. Huh?
Oh, is this it right here? Uh,
Hold on.
okay.
What are you citing?
I'm asking you to link
Uh,
whatever you're reading.
okay, hold on.
Okay. Also,
Posted sources. There you go.
okay, okay, thank you.
Essentially, like they link all the terror attacks that occur, and so they note them down in essentially what is a database. Then they just tally them at the end of the month.
Okay, so
And
this is all over the world. Most of these are in like, you know, countries that we would expect. I don't know. Like I don't know how you can like say things like, oh well, like most of these are happening within Islamic countries, and that's like bad. But like killing all the
India,
Muslims, you don't give
in,
a shit if they're killing each other. If you just want to
in
kill all Muslims.
India, dude, India is not an Islamic
Okay, well, most of
country.
these Nigeria, Somalia, Iraq, Afghanistan, Iraq, Boko Farsa, Iraq, Pakistan. Like, yeah, no, India. Yeah, they happen in India. They happen in America. They happen in France. But a majority of them happen in mostly Muslim majority countries. So the people that
That's
are
only for this. That's
that's
only for this month,
okay.
dude.
So do you think that like if we looked at a whole year worth of data, like we would see this is different? Do you think that this is an outlier?
I mean, I'm not sure because like there are so many
Okay, well
that
we
it's
can look
hard
at
to
that.
it's hard to keep track at this
Not
point.
really.
They happen like multiple a day.
Well, I mean, yeah, but
We
it
can
would.
go look at for the we can look at 2019 stats and see what they say.
Okay. I mean, and yeah, like most, we would expect. Oh, we can actually look on this website. Okay. Um.
Okay, right. So there were in 2019 there were 1,755 atomic attacks in 54 countries and 10,412 people killed and 10,696 were injured. Uh, and then it also has a disclaimer here. The religion of peace does not catch all attacks. Not all attacks are immediately posted. So this is
Yeah.
only potentially a
Okay.
small amount.
So
The
this
the
doesn't.
real number is
Well,
probably a lot higher.
so
But these are the
Sure,
only ones that are
maybe,
reported are
maybe,
intact.
maybe. But looking at the data from, or like just the list of attacks, like it seems like what I said was true. Most of these happen in Muslim majority countries, and that would make sense because most, like, it's easier to commit terror and it's more effective to commit terror in the country that you're trying to more like take power in. And like a lot of the countries like Afghanistan, Iraq, well, maybe less so Afghanistan, but like Iraq, Syria, like a lot of these countries aren't necessarily like super like fundamentalist like Islamic like with their government. They're fighting against these things, and a lot of the people
Wait,
don't.
come again? Come again?
Well, like Syria is
Wait,
not a.
you listed countries and claimed that they weren't fundamentalist. Say that
But
again. I want to just
their
catch that.
their governments aren't right. Like they don't have Islamic governments.
No, wait.
Did I don't know if you cut out or not, or you just laughed. But okay, okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, give me the names of those countries again, dude. You listed some countries and said they don't have Islamic governments. I remember hearing one of those countries that sounded really off. Just give me that list of countries again, dude.
So I said Afghanistan, and then I immediately corrected myself and said, no, probably not Afghanistan. But I said Iraq and Syria. Iraq is kind of a failed state at this point. I'll give you that. Syria, very secular government. No?
No, no.
No?
The government of Syria, it's ruled by a Muslim, and also it's legally mandated to be ruled by a Muslim. Only a Muslim can hold the highest office in the land. Also with Iraq, it started out sort of secular. However, it quickly just lost its secularity. I'll go
Yeah,
ahead
it's
and
like kind
find
of a
the
failed
laws
state.
relating to the Sharia.
Okay. I mean, but this doesn't like. So you concede that most of the Islamic attacks and most of the carnage that happens, like from like radical Islam, comes like affects like mainly Islam's, right?
Okay, no, you were wrong about Iraq. Islam is the state religion, and it was made that in 2005 after the
Okay.
new Iraqi constitution sponsored by America.
Okay.
So
I mean,
yeah.
having
Also as
something as
well.
the state religion, does that mean that it's like ruled by religion, or does that mean like that's just the official like religion of the
No,
state?
no, it is the official religion of the state. The state governs in the name of Islam. The state governs in the name of Allah. And we
Okay.
can go and look at Syria as well. Hold up.
Okay. But like, do you remember why we were looking at this in the first place? Is because I tried to
Uh,
make the point. Like, this is what I'm talking about, staying on topic. Like, we're still on topic, I guess, but you're just not like you're not really engaging with like the points I'm trying to make. Like, I'm trying to say that yeah, a
well,
lot
no,
of
you're saying that you're saying that a bunch of these attacks occur in Islamic countries, which is true. They get
yes,
far more attacks
most of
than
them,
the
most
West.
of them. Yes, thank you. Okay, because
No, 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 no,
you
no,
said
no.
you don't know
Hold
if
on. I
that's
wouldn't say
true. So
most of them because neither of us have the statistical data for that.
over
I'm saying a
50%.
lot of them
Do you think
because a
over
lot
50%?
there's less of a burden of proof there. We can clearly see that a lot of terror attacks, happen in these countries. I wouldn't say most because I don't
So
know
if
that, but a lot of them
if we
do.
counted
So,
these, we would not find that like okay,
I
maybe.
mean, right, yeah, neither of us have counted them. So you're
Well, I'm
talking out
looking
your
at
ass
them
with
and
that.
well, no, I'm not because I'm looking at them and I'm like reading down
I
these
said in total. Like
and
if we
so
go through the Religion of Peace website and we look and we count all the
all of
ones that they
them, all the
managed to
okay. So
list
for
and
20,
we
so you
count
think
them all,
2019
would
is
we
just an
see
outlier?
that
Do you think
it's
that
mostly in Islamic countries?
do you,
Perhaps. Have
so
either of
okay,
us actually done
perhaps.
that? No.
Okay, so let's look at 2018 now, because I think you're just being extremely disingenuous now because you're trying to fit the narrative. Let's look at 2018. I expect it to be nearly identical. Okay, Philippines. Okay, that's a Christian country. England, that's a Christian country, or a secular country, I guess. Pakistan, Afghanistan. I've never heard of that country before. Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia, Burkina
Wait,
Faso.
what country didn't you hear of? What country
In
was that?
oh fuck, I'm so illiterate, my dude. I'll try my best. Ingustria.
What?
Yeah, I've never. So I don't know why you laugh and be like, oh, I don't know. I
I'm
haven't
no,
heard.
no,
Oh,
I'm not laughing at you. I'm just confused. What is
okay.
Angustia?
I don't
Hold
know.
up.
It's a country apparently. That's why I said I've
No, no,
never heard of
no,
that
no, hold up.
country.
No, I'll see what it is. Oh, you mean
Okay.
Ungashita? Yeah,
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 there we
yeah, yeah.
go.
It's yeah, Nazulan.
Okay, so okay, so Nigeria, Indonesia, Thailand, Iraq, Pakistan, Somalia, Thailand, Syria, Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq, Pakistan, Egypt, Pakistan, Iraq, Syria, Boko Farsa, Nigeria, Kenya, Nigeria, Somalia, Afghanistan, Nigeria, Libya, Afghanistan, Iraq, Nigeria, Thailand, Nigeria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Nigeria. I mean, yeah, it seems to not. Oh, Israel, that's new. Syria, Egypt, Afghanistan, Mali. Iraq, India, France, Afghanistan, India, DRC, Afghanistan, Libya, Israel, Somalia, Afghanistan, Nigeria, Syria. Like, you want to look at 2017, or like, do you think that these 2 years are just an outlier? Because we can keep going if you want. I really just want you to
Uh,
concede this point because this is a really basic fucking thing.
well, no, I'm not going to concede jack shit
Okay, so
because
let's go to
neither of us have.
2017. Okay, no, we can go all the way to 2002. And I mean, this is okay. Afghanistan, Cameroon, India, Somalia, Afghanistan, Philippines, Syria, Germany, Nigeria, Afghanistan, Iraq, Egypt, Cameroon, Egypt, Afghanistan, Egypt, Nigeria, Kenya, Mali, Iraq, Philippines, Afghanistan, Russia, Iraq, Philippines, Somalia, Yemen, Afghanistan, Iraq, Nigeria, Afghanistan, Iraq, Nigeria, Iraq. Seems like a lot of them happen in Afghanistan and seems like a lot of them happen in Afghanistan and Iraq and Nigeria.
Oh, yeah, right. Did you hear what I said, or did it cut out again?
You cut out.
Okay, I said, right, neither of us, like, right. I said, hold on. It was like, I bet you don't know what the cell of the country you listed was because I don't fucking know either. And
Okay.
neither of us have actually gone down with a fucking blue marker and just checked all of these that have been Islamic countries and all of these have been non-Islamic countries
Right.
and tallied them up. Neither of us have done that
So
for this entire
so
website that they've managed
so
to list
right.
and so on.
So
And if
do you
we were to,
think do you think
so, dude, you're
okay.
interrupting me now. If we were to definitively claim that it was majority Islamic or majority non-Islamic countries, we neither of us would actually be speaking on a point of absolutes. Then neither of us would actually have the evidence there because neither of us would actually fucking know because
Okay.
that neither of us have actually gone through
So
the
we
entirety of the data
so we
for
have
this
to
month.
okay.
For this month so far, actually no, for last month so far, yeah, it's mostly
Okay.
been Islamic.
Okay.
But the month before that, presumably the same. I don't fucking know though for
That's
certain.
presumably
Neither
the
of us know.
same. Would it make do you think it would make logical sense for most of the countries where like that are predominantly Islam to have the most amount of Islamic terrorism? Doesn't that just like
Uh,
logically make sense?
I mean, yeah, because if it like if
Right.
we
So why are we
assume
debating
that
about this? Why can't you
there
just
are
concede this point?
countries where they then yeah, like if the majority of the population in a country is Muslim, then presumably a majority of the terrorists that come from that country will also be Muslim.
That's my point.
Because
Thank you. Yes. So you concede this point. It's fine.
no, what
Okay.
exactly what are you trying to get me to
So,
concede? Because
so,
I might
so my
already be
problem,
there.
so the point I was trying to make, the point I was trying to illustrate, is that you seem to care a whole bunch about Islamic terrorism and the jihad and whatnot. But it seems like the countries that are affected the most by this jihad and this Islamic fundamentalism and extremism is majority Muslim countries, which you don't seem to really care about because you want to kill all Muslims anyway. So it seems like the fact that jihad and like, what if we just like bordered, like this would be more effective. What if we just like deported all Muslims and just like bordered them, like they can stay in the Middle East, and then that's it, or we can like put them into a certain area. Like that would be more effective than, right? Like I mean, they can just
More
kill each
effective
other.
at doing what?
Wait, what?
More effective at doing what in particular?
Like not
What is the
having to
goal
deal with
that you're
them,
trying to
right? Like
achieve?
you don't seem to care if they're
Well,
like sitting
no.
around.
Well, the point of my solution is to deal with them. Finally, like to kill them all. Thus, there cannot be Islamic terror. There can be no jihad if there is no Muslims to think or to do anything really. If you kill them all, then all like there would just be a sudden stop. That list of thousands of terror attacks every month would just stop. Like it would
Right,
just
but
cut
you
off at
don't.
a certain
But
date
you don't.
because
So
there
you
are no
don't
more.
care about the terror attacks. You care about it when it affects like non-Muslims, because yeah, like
Because
you'd be stopping Muslim terror attacks, but you would also be killing so many more people. So like you don't care about the morality of it. You just don't want like the like West or like India or whatever to be affected by it, which is fine. It would be like cheaper and like just as effective if we were just to like man a border until they like all killed themselves or
no, because
whatever.
I do carry the morality of it. I don't like Islamic law. I think it is morally abhorrent, the stuff that is in there, and the stuff that is adjudicated on. And so,
Okay.
if this legal system was to be smited from the earth, I think the earth would just be a better place
So,
without it.
your claim is that like you think that like even though the problems predominantly persist in Muslim like majority areas and they don't really affect many other places except when they export that Islamic fundamentalism or Islamic extremism to other countries, like it typically is affecting mainly Muslim majority countries. Like but so like that's one of your claims or thing like this is why we should kill them is because there's a lot of fundamentalists, they do a lot of radical shit, and
Like my principal claim has always been Islam in principle is bad. Anyone who believes in it in
right.
principle is also bad by proxy. Thus, if I want Islam to die, I must kill the Muslims as well.
Right. So you don't care about the
You
morality
don't
of
care.
it.
What? No, 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 no. It's morally bad. Like I have morality. It's just my axioms are different than yours. I still
Yeah, I
do
know.
believe in moral stuff.
So you do you think it's morally bad for like an Islamic fundamentalist to go out and like slaughter like 50 like people in like Iraq if they're all Muslims? Do you think that's bad?
I mean, if they were Muslims, I'd say it's a morally like good action. I guess it's just Muslims killing other Muslims.
Okay,
Like
so like I said,
good.
wouldn't it be cheaper? Wouldn't it cost less money to just like deport them all and then just like not let them in, like make a border
Well,
maybe in
no,
like
well,
Turkey?
no, no, because no. Right. In principle, they are still bad. In principle, they still exist, and thus they still pose a threat. They can hop over the border. They can dig
Okay,
under the border. They can
sure,
hijack a flight and crash into the border. There were possibilities
sure.
for Muslims to do any number of things that I consider bad, and I consider Muslims bad inherently because I disagree with them in principle. And so
But
fundamentally, if everyone was to just deport Muslims to a really small patch of desert in Saudi Arabia, that wouldn't cure the problem because they still exist. Them
okay,
existing is the issue.
okay.
Them existing and believing the things they do is the issue. Thus,
And
deporting them anywhere, it doesn't solve the issue, but instead deports the issue. It just moves the
right,
issue
okay.
further away from me, but that
Um,
doesn't cure the issue.
Gotcha. So, like in oh fuck, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, you would be totally okay with just allowing or like inciting like thousands, maybe even tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of terrorist attacks all across the world to exterminate Islam. Like that would be okay for you?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
Like a few, like because things like a terror attack. Like depending on what is used. Usually it's just small arms. Sometimes mortars and rockets. They are incredibly limited in the amount of damage that they can cause due to the inherent small nature of their weapons. They
Okay.
possess bigger weapons that you can't really commit a terror attack with like an artillery piece, for example. At that point, it just becomes regular war. And so ultimately, yeah, like they would kill perhaps at the very most maybe a million people globally speaking, like
May
a few hundred thousand
okay.
probably, a few hundred thousand probably, although like like a million, maybe
I don't know.
1.5 million
That
total.
sounds super duper conservative like estimates, but I don't
Well,
know
no,
because I haven't done the
it is conservative, like it is incredibly conservative, because fundamentally the small scale nature of these attacks and the sporadic nature of them, generally, the unhinged, unplanned nature of these attacks brought about
So how many
by
Muslims
sheer
are there?
the Kufa has managed to desecrate the Allah's prophet. I mean, yeah, the attacks will be, broadly speaking, as unsuccessful as the attacks on American
How about
convoys were in the Iraq War.
how about
Just it's just
Pakistan?
random nutters with AKs, and that's really you can't do much with that.
Okay, so you don't think that 15 to 20% of the world's I'm sorry, 1.8 billion, right? People. That's how many Muslims. Let's say, hypothetically, your master plan works and all the Muslims unite together. You don't think 1.8 billion people couldn't kill? Maybe like half a billion people.
Oh no, 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 no. If all the
Hold on,
Muslims,
hold on, hold on. One more
one of
point. One more point, please. One more point. One more
on a
point,
grand
please,
scale is
please,
what?
please. One more point. How about Pakistan with their nukes?
I mean, like, yeah, like you do realize that, for example, the United States has anti missile defense system. So does
Yep,
Russia. So does China. China has actually some really good
yep.
shit, kind
Those
of
aren't the
similar to
countries
the
that
Iron
they'd be
Dome
targeting, though.
in Israel.
They'd be targeting
But yeah,
India. But yeah.
come again. Oh, I mean, India also like India has nukes and it also has anti-nuke defenses as well. Because of the threat of Pakistan right next to them,
Yeah.
I would say it's a very good investment for them to keep on investing in it, which they continually do. They also have one of the biggest militaries on earth, and
Yep.
also they can expand the military if needed to like 500 million men. And also, if they can, even if they include women, it'd be about like maybe like a billion, 700 million, sort of around that number.
Sure,
And
maybe.
so fundamentally, yeah, like if there was like a straight war between Pakistan and India, even with nukes, Pakistan they have about seven, I believe, and so they would
No,
fundamentally
you're
lose
wrong.
anyway.
You're wrong. I just looked it up.
Uh, ho-
They have 140 warheads. Um,
no, no, no. But how many do they have active at any more point in time? Like, how many
um,
do they have attached to the
I
missiles,
don't know.
ready to fire, rather than
That's a
just
good
the
question.
warheads?
Okay, I don't know. I'll look into that, or I'll try to find that. Um,
Okay, but yeah. Either way, though, let's just
oh,
assume that
none
they
of them are
have.
deployed. They just have a total of 150, 160. Okay. I don't know how
So
hard
so
it is
none
to
of
deploy them.
so none of them are actually in silos or anything. They're just warheads that they have.
Yeah, but I don't know what the process or how hard it is to attach a nuclear warhead to a missile. I don't know what.
I mean,
But
like if you have
but
nuclear engineers just handy, then it's incredibly easy. If you don't,
right.
it becomes incredibly difficult.
Right, but they don't necessarily need a warhead, and they probably wouldn't, right? Like, imagine if you just like drove, you just kind of like plopped a warhead into like your car and just drove into Delhi or New Delhi. Like, how much damage would that
That
do?
isn't that isn't how it works, dude. Like
Okay.
with a with like a nuclear bomb, like assuming that they're using like the atom gun kind of model, like the Nagasaki and Hiroshima bombs used. Um,
Why would we
like
assume
then
that?
because that's how most nukes work. Unless
Wait.
we're talking about hydrogen bombs, but then
Oh.
that's a whole different branch of nuke.
Okay. Maybe.
But yeah, we're
I'm
just
not
assuming that
sure.
they're using, the same model that everyone else more or less uses, apart from people about hydrogen bombs. Um, yeah, like you wouldn't like just hitting it into something, like that wouldn't work. You would need to like detonate it,
Yeah. So
and
you would have
that
a
would cause.
detonator, and you would detonate the nuke while it's in your car, and it would just go.
Yeah, that would work. Just smashing it into something,
No, right, yeah. So
it
I was
might.
you drive it up like next to like a fucking Buddhist temple or whatever or a Hindu temple, and then you just say, "Haha, take this, you fucking Indians," and then you hit the detonator and like 500,000 people die.
Oh yeah, that's a shitty target to attack. Like
Yeah,
really shitty. You've not destroyed anything of value. It can be easily rebuilt, and there is nothing of
wait,
military worth there.
wait,
Presumably at least. I'm assuming that Buddhists aren't just stacking mad heat under
right.
their temples.
Yeah.
I'm
So like,
assuming that they might be
what if
though.
they
I
were
don't
able to
fucking know.
detonate 1/10 the nukes just in India? What if they were just able to like kind of like detonate them all at once, 10 nukes? That would probably, to a degree, destroy India. Right? It would contaminate the soil. It would contaminate the food supply. It would contaminate the water. Like it would destroy
I mean, it
India.
depends where they detonate.
Yeah. So
They
they'd probably
detonate them,
detonate
for
them in
example, in
strategic.
like in the values of the.
Yeah. That's probably where they would. They would do it at the place where they could do the most damage. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like 1/10 of that, so that'd be 10. The cities, yeah,
14.
they'd probably target the top 10 cities. They wouldn't get
Yeah.
New Delhi because that's guarded by a shit ton of military assets. Because I mean, India predicted like
Yeah.
they have war plans and war games.
Yeah.
Their enemy is quite literally nuclear armed to the teeth and right next to them, so they prepare for this. So they wouldn't get New Delhi or Bombay or any of the major cities that people probably know about. They'd probably
Right.
get like
What if they targeted the
I
water
don't know, like
supply, like that river that supplies most of India with its water? Or if they just nuked that and
that would
then
that would kill also Pakistan too, unless they've got like millions and
yep.
millions of
But
gallons of water just hidden somewhere. That would
yeah,
kill them.
but they think it's the end of the world, so they don't care, right? So they're okay with killing themselves as long as they kill the infidels, right? According to like your logic, right?
I mean, broadly speaking, yeah. However, they want to be like presumably they would want to be there. They like I'm pretty sure like dying from radiation isn't covered in the Hadith, Sunnah, or the Quran
Okay.
because well, I mean nukes were invented at that time. I'm not sure if that would come under like natural causes because I know that if you die from by accident, then then you are a martyr. This would be intentional though, so I'm not sure. Like they'd have to clear with Islamic scholars
Yeah,
first
sure.
and see if
So
they give
like
the
yeah,
okay.
but like hypothetically it's cleared by the Islamic scholars. You're still okay with like destroying India and probably a few other countries
I mean, no, 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 no,
genocide
no, 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 no.
Muslims.
I'm okay. No, I'm okay putting them at risk, putting them at grave risk.
Okay.
But it
So
would like I wouldn't if I knew for certain that they would die, then no, I'd have to rethink and I'd
okay.
create a new
Well,
plan.
I think
However,
that
I'd
maybe
be
your
okay
plan
putting
is
them
a
at grave
little.
risk.
Okay, I think it would be a pretty big risk because I don't think that Pakistan, if assuming that what you believe is true, I mean Turkey's also they have warheads as well. Um, I'm Kazakhstan has war or they just have warheads stationed there. I don't know. Um, but yeah,
No, either way though, no,
like
because like either way though, what you've got to go ahead and consider is that fundamentally like only a small amount of these Islamic states actually have nuclear weapons. Most of them are just armed with biological and chemical weapons.
yeah, which can
However,
also
we
do
have
damage.
defenses against this, or especially India. India has prepared for this since like the fucking I don't know 70s. Like yeah, they got invaded in like
Sure.
1975 in the Second War, I think, or something like that. And ever since then, they've just been stockpiling shit and preparing. So their military would probably be the best prepared out of the non-Islamic nations, along with China and North Korea and a few others.
Okay.
America and a few like the Western democracies would be very unprepared for this though.
Okay. Um, maybe. Um, like, do you have anything else that you wanted to bring up?
I mean, no, I'd be okay putting the world at an incredibly grave risk because the payoff is just so huge.
Okay. Even though there are potential other opportunities that we could try first.
Yeah, there are other opportunities, but those are less immediate. Like, they would take
Yeah,
time,
but there's less, right, but there's
time and
less
time.
trade-off, right? The potential cost would be much less.
Yeah, I know the potential cost is a lot less, but I'm willing to like stake everything on this.
Right.
If I
Why?
was there
Okay.
and I had the red button,
Why?
I'd be willing to press that shit
Okay. Like I
because I
like
believe
right. So
because
like
I believe it's,
okay.
because I believe Islam to be the absolute pinnacle of human degeneracy. So
Okay.
I'm willing to put everything. I'm willing to put hand on heart and just say fuck it and press that button and put everything at rest.
Okay. Um this just doesn't make sense to me when we could do things that even if they don't work, sure. Like we could always fall back to your plan, I guess, even though that I wouldn't agree with the morality of it, but I don't really want to get into that. Um, so we could try my ideas first, like maybe secularizing these people or trying to do propaganda campaigns, and then if they don't work, then yeah, you can still keep your plan. But to just say well, yeah, we should just incite mass violence against the West and India and all this stuff, and potentially kill billions of people just so we can exterminate 1.8 billion people, like that.
Actually, it's 1.62.
1.62.
Yeah, it's
According to who?
1.62 according to Pew Research.
Okay.
That was back in like 2013 though.
Or 20.
I'm not I can't I know maybe almost an extra billion Muslims have grown or something. I don't
Yes,
fucking know.
Islam is the
I
fastest growing
struggle.
religion. So according to a study in 2015, Islam has a 1.8 billion. So it's probably more, but I don't know.
200 million people in like uh nah that doesn't seem right.
Wait, what?
I'm not sure if I accept that. That number seems kind of off, but whatever. Let's just take your
Wait,
higher number. I don't care.
1.8 billion as a okay. It's weird that you're just like that doesn't sound right. But if you have a different figure, then I'd love to see it.
Nah, and I don't give a shit to debate
Okay.
like whether what number of Muslims there are.
Okay. I don't think it's really relevant or matters, but yeah. Okay. So did you have anything else, or is this it?
You don't think my
What?
I mean, what? No. I have nothing else really to add. I mean, this wasn't really debate. It was more just a bunch of questions, me answering the questions, you trying to get me to concede to something, and then
Yeah.
failing. I guess I don't know.
Sure.
This was
I mean,
this was very
I
poorly
think you
structured, but
conceded. I
it was
think
it
you
was okay.
conceded the point because you literally said exactly what I said. That yeah, it makes logical sense that Islamic countries would have more Islamic terrorism in it because that's where majority of Islam people are,
I
and
I never disagree with that contention though. Like I just said,
no,
I'm
you
not willing
okay,
to state
yeah,
that the
no,
majority of terror attacks occur in Islamic countries because I haven't seen all the
right. And
data,
I was just
and
trying to
neither
say
have
that it
you, and
makes
so I'm not going
logical
to make that
sense, and
assumption.
then I rephrased it as saying well, so you would say that it makes logical sense. You would concede that point. You're like, well, no, because you just didn't want to concede something. But I'll rewatch it, and maybe I was wrong. I don't know. Okay, so
Uh, I don't. I'm not even sure if I dis. I'm confused. Right. I never disagree with the pretension with the pretension that like logically speaking, if the majority of a country is Muslim, let's say 99.9% of a country is Muslim, then presumably the majority of terror attacks that are born from this country, that are from people who are born in this country, are all probably going to be of an Islamic nature because those people committing them are probably going to be Muslims. However, I'm agreeing with that. But I'm not agreeing stating that the majority of Islamic terror attacks take place in Islamic nations because I don't know. I haven't
okay, so
seen
you would disagree
the
with
full
this.
stats.
You would, I mean, okay, so would you disagree, yes or no, with this statement? Um, it seems right. It seems when we look at recent data that majority of the Muslim terror attacks happen in majority Muslim areas. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I mean, I would disagree. I would say that the attacks of like the past few months, seemingly have almost all taken place within Islamic nations or countries that are somewhat close to these Islamic nations, like India.
Okay, so when we look at the last 30 days,
I mean, yeah, we did look at the last
and this didn't
30 days.
seem to be the case. And then we said, well, how about 2019? And then we looked at 2019. And he said, well, how? And then we kind of
Yeah,
go
I
all
know.
the way to 2017. And so that's what
I
I'm
think
talking about. Like
you're
maybe,
chasing something here that doesn't exist. I'm not disagreeing with you here.
maybe.
Like, I mean, like if you're content, if you're what you're stating is, like you really went over the thing logically. If 99% of a country, well, 99.99%
No,
of a
no,
country is
no,
Muslim,
that's
then
not
the
what I'm
amount of
saying. Well, yeah, I'm saying that when we look at the data, right, in recent, like when we just look at the data in the last 3 years from the site that you gave me, also the religionofpeace.com. I need to do some background checking into this. Maybe it's legit. Just the name gives off some weird red flags. But when we look at the last 30 days, or 2019, or 2018, or even 2017, this seems to be the case, right? Maybe if we go back 20 years, that wasn't the case. But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right,
No,
we're
no, it
talking.
seems to be the case for the past few months or the past few years. That's what
Yes.
That's like I'm willing to agree on that.
Okay.
However, if we're just definitively stating majority of terror attacks in the world, that are Islamic in their nature have just occurred in Islamic states. I'm not going to
Well,
comment on that because I
well,
don't know.
okay.
Neither of us have counted every single.
So yeah, like in recent memory, also like terror attacks, like okay, like terror attacks didn't seem to really pick up a whole bunch until like after 2001, but maybe I'm wrong on that.
Actually, no. Like I think like the first major Islamic terror
Yeah, there were
attack
still
took
attacks,
place.
but they not to the
It
same
was like in
degree.
this, no, no, it
That's
was no. They were pretty big in like the '60s due to like the whole Israel-Palestine conflict. Essentially,
okay.
almost all of them took place in like Palestine. Then it just kind of like as a phenomenon, there was some dude who's Palestinian and a Muslim. I forget exactly what his name was, but he's called the father of modern terror because he devised like the coherent strategy of modern terrorism. And then like as soon as he devised it, everyone else just kind of was like, hey, this dude's onto something, and then it just kind of spread as a phenomenon.
Okay. All right. Well.
I forget what that dude's name was though. He eludes me.
Okay. This was fun, I guess. We can do this again if you want. But yeah.
I'm alright with this. I prefer to not discuss Islam with you though, instead history, because like this Islamic topic, it seems like a dead horse at this point. It's
I
been
mean, yeah, because you just. Yeah, I don't want to re-spark the conversation, but yeah, I have my own thoughts on this long conversation with you. I think yeah, it is kind of circular talking or circular arguing and whatnot. I don't think it bears much fruit, because I think that were you born in India?
no,
Okay, because I think you've told me before that you like are of Indian descent. Are you not?
no. It's like Scottish, Indian, African.
Okay, so yeah, okay, right. Okay, and maybe one day we can talk about race realism because I've heard some meme shit from Shiny about that. So maybe that can be our next topic.
Sure,
Okay.
sure, dude. I would much love to talk about the British Raj with you though. I think we'd have some interesting conversations about that.
I think
You'd
interesting
need
is
to
one
like read
way.
some.
I've trust me, I've read so much, and every single time someone links me that's a race realist, anything, and we read it, it's not what they say it is. I had a 4 hour conversation last night with
No,
Alec.
no, no. I wasn't talking.
But
Uh,
yeah.
no, I wasn't talking about race realism. I said the Raj, the British Raj.
Oh yeah, I don't care about that. I don't. I really like the whole whether colonialism was good or bad. Like, yeah, you can make arguments for like saying that like, oh well, some good did come out of the Holocaust, but that's like ultimately the Holocaust was not good, or colonialism was not good just because there were some good side effects. Also, we could never know what would have happened if like colonialism or like the Raj or like slavery or whatnot never happened. Like it's impossible. Like for all we know, if slavery never happened or if the Raj never happened, like there would be like some like superior Indian state or whatever. But because we don't know, that's just alternate history. Yeah, so I don't. It's kind of a boring conversation, but anyway, this was fun. Till next time, my dude. All right, peace. Oh boy, stay breezy, always cheesy. Peace out.